And today, who knows how many lined Twin Cities streets and jammed the state capitol grounds, all for a chance to see, cheer, and touch Minnesota's heroes. Such an overwhelming surge of joy that the Twins may always recall it simply as the day of the parade. Here's Alan Cox.
It's exhilarating and frightening. It sharpens the senses and makes it impossible to hear or talk. So many wanted to touch and to share.
Pull it back now. Pull it back, please.
Wide through here. Gotta move back. There's room. Unbelievable. Hold that.
What do you think of this reception?
I can't hear. What'd you say?
Ever expect anything like this?
No, not this many. It's outstanding. It's great.
Great but scary. The cars at the mercy of the crowd. Those larger-than-life figures looked vulnerable until you could see they were utterly safe.
Nice job.
Congratulations.
After Minneapolis, a brief cleanup, then the trip across a closed freeway, an accommodation usually reserved for presidents and snowplows, and the ride through downtown St. Paul, the crowd packed more tightly than Minneapolis.
The crowd seems to get louder and louder. They push in closer and closer. And one of the more bizarre scenes is, right behind us, a team owner who nearly incites the crowd into a riot every time he stands up and waves his hanky.
Again, a mass of humanity that looked impassable, that finally parted to let their heroes pass.
I don't know. I got graffiti in my brain right now. I ain't got time to think right now.
My brain is numb. It's the most incredible thing I've ever experienced or even hoped to experience. They're so overwhelmed. One of them even fell asleep. I don't think they even know what to think.
Well, she slept through the Aquatennial parades, the Winter Carnival parades, New Year's Eve, the 4th of July, rolled into one. For Minnesotans as a community, the time of our lives. For Bill Kruzkopf, Alan Cox, WCCO Television News.
And you can be sure that tremendous celebration didn't stop on the city streets. It rolled onto the grounds of the state capitol, and Pat Kessler picks up the story from there.
They came in huge numbers, these quiet Nordic types, drawn by a feeling they have never spoken out loud. Most never saw their heroes in the tumult. Most didn't mind. They waited for hours in a cutting wind just to say they'd been there.
About 10.
Are you getting cold?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you Twins fans?
Yeah.
Are you insane?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. We're in love.
For several hours today, the Capitol front lawn was one of the largest cities in Minnesota. Despite the huge numbers, however, police reported only 4 broken bones and no arrests. It was wall-to-wall emotion.
Pretty impressive. It's outrageous. It definitely is more than I expected.
Passion is no stranger to this building. Raw joy is. And today, the people generated enough of it to warm 4 million hearts. They tell us we are reticent and reserved, and they are right most of the time. But the men and women who built this state in the 1800s must be watching today, and they must be smiling. Pat Kessler, WCCO Television News.
It was the most massive crowd ever to crush the Twin Cities. One estimate has put it at 500,000. Who are these people who interrupted their customary schedules to scream and shout on the city streets? Tom Steward looks at one of the families in the crowd.
George and Theresa Lindenfelser made this a family affair.
Every puppy.
Their 3 children, including 5-month-old Sam, plus a couple of neighbor kids rolled in from Rockford early this morning.
As early as I've been out, been a long time. No problem. No, we've been with them all the way.
You took the day off?
Took the day off. Couldn't work with a day like this going on.
The 2.5-hour wait gave them time to formulate a good game plan.
Well, I'm going to try to go out and get some autographs, and Kirby's my favorite player.
Wave it, Sammy.
Yeah.
Down you go. Down you go.
By parade time, the whole gang was close enough to touch them all. Without Mom, they would have missed Kirby. But Justin made sure he shook hands with his hero.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Who's your favorite so far?
Greg Gagnon.
Did you actually get to talk to him?
Yeah.
What'd you tell him?
Said, I'm your best fan.
It's the most exciting thing I've been to. It is really charged out here. It is good. I won't forget this.
No one wanted this unforgettable season to end. And for anyone lucky enough to be in the crowd today, it never will.
Here we go again.
Tom Stewart, WCCO Television News, Minneapolis.
Never have Twin Cities police had to handle such huge crowds. We'll see how they did it in just a moment. Twin Cities police report 200 children were separated from their parents during today's festivities. All now, we have been told, have been reunited with their families. All told, police had remarkably few problems handling today's record crowds. Here's Caroline Lowe with that story.
For several hours today, the Twin Cities looked like several huge parking lots, crammed full of Twins fans wanting a glimpse of their hometown heroes. Finding a parking space was extremely tough, prompting some fans to abandon their cars alongside the ramps on I-94. Police officials in Minneapolis and St. Paul say the crowds were the largest they have ever seen and much bigger than they expected.
Everyone said it was larger than Riverfest, any taste of Minnesota, anything we've ever had in the Twin Cities in St. Paul.
After the parade and rally, many fans continued to celebrate in downtown St. Paul, sprinkling confetti on cars which attempted to crawl through the streets.
But despite the huge turnout, police reported no arrests in either city by late this afternoon and described the crowds as very well behaved.
They also say that despite the several hundred officers called in to handle the crowds along with reservists, they were greatly outnumbered and will plan on using a lot more police if the Twins are in another parade next year. Caroline Lowe, WCCO Television News, the Twin Cities.
Among the minor problems reported by St. Paul police, a woman's leg was hurt when the crowd on Cedar Avenue pushed her against a car. And a woman at the state capitol rally was taken away by ambulance when she went into labor. Twins mania spilled over into the city center in downtown Minneapolis. There were so many out-of-school young people hanging out there, and in some cases hanging from railings, that police closed the place down and cleared everybody out for a few hours. No one was injured in all the mayhem there. No one would argue, of course, that the Twins were hot in the World Series, but that had nothing to do with the fire under a car which transported catcher Sal Butera in the parade. The red Corvette started burning and some confetti was trapped into the engine. This video was shot by advertising executive John McElligott. Sal Butera and his wife escaped unharmed and they doubled up in another car. In the wake of the World Series champions, a world-class cleanup job for street sweeping crews. In Minneapolis alone, they cleaned up 17,000 pounds of confetti. By the way, a ton of it was shredded money from the Federal Reserve Bank. One of these Twins fans would clean up after themselves.